Well, welcome back to a stream series that I didn't think would be popular at all, but little did I know it actually hit 3,000 views, which, for something of this sort, makes absolutely no sense to me, but welcome back. I've done a lot of work so that this isn't as absolutely boring and you can actually see progress being made. Also, this shouldn't be under gaming. Whoops! Oh no, this should be under education. There we go. Quickly, just quickly modifying those stream settings last second. So if you guys don't remember last time we were here, we actually got basic workings of the game underway. Hi, Chili Plays, and basically how this goes is we slowly watch as this becomes a game, and that is 99% just frustration. But if you guys look here, look, we have chunk loading, and it follows you, so you can like walk following it. Ignore the FPS, it isn't actually that bad when you're playing in your computer. It actually works. It generates infinite terrain, but what's next? We need to make it actually look like terrain. Currently, it's kind of, blue and black, if we want to be honest. So, our first step is going to be adding a few new blocks to the game. These blocks are going to be the terrain, pretty much, and let's just do that, and I'll show you guys how I do that with my system here. We go to block, we've got blocks, and you guys can suggest a few blocks below. I may get to them at some point, but the big ones are going to be down here. Oh, we already have stone. Although this should actually be in slot 1-0. And then we just have to add one new one. Block grass equals new block. And this is going to be interesting because there is a slight problem we're going to run into this. In this video, there is a problem we're going to run into, but we're going to ignore it. It says Minecraft because I made a mistake. I didn't change the settings from last stream. So we are going to run into a slight issue, I can already tell, but we're going to ignore that for about 10 minutes until we hit the problem and I begin freaking out, trying to figure out what we're going to do here. But we're just going to do public static, block grass, and then we're going to add another one, public static, block test, and we're going to mess with this. So block here is going to be 0, block grass is going to be 3, I'm moving block stone to 2, this is going to be at the 2 position. We're just moving everything around to make it make more sense. The grass is obviously going to be called grass. It's going to have lower strength than stone. That actually doesn't do anything yet. And then block test is going to be the one here. And it's going to have the ID of 1. It's going to be called test, and that's going to be our blue and black block. It won't be in the actual game. We'll give it a strength of 0 because it technically doesn't exist. So now that's the simple part, and here's the fun part now. If we go into our project, this is a temporary system. I'm actually going to modify this in the future, but this is our tile. Oh shoot, I forgot I have Photoshop now. Yeah, I bought the entire Adobe Creative Suite so that I get their video editing and stuff. Yeah, Adobe Premiere and stuff, but I also get Photoshop and stuff now. Although I've never used Photoshop before, so we'll see how this goes. This may be a bad idea to use considering I have no clue what I'm doing. Whoa, Cabo throwing some flames over there. That is actually impressive flaming going on. We may just fly over to paint.net because, oh shoot, I don't have any of my plugins for paint.net. So actually, this is so many problems. So many problems after completely reinstalling Windows and losing everything. But I think I can actually grab my stuff from the other hard drive. Program files, paint.net, paint.net, and then we're going to have effects. There's going to be a lot of stuff in this folder. Yeah. Yep. This is what I meant by a lot of stuff in this folder. But that's fine. We're just going to copy all these. We're gonna, maybe we will use Photoshop. I don't know, this will be an interesting, because I have no clue how to use Photoshop properly. Yeah, this is going to take way too long for me to figure out. I need to actually, like, teach myself how to use it. So instead, we're going to go on the slightly less professional route of using paint.net. Which is my go-to at the moment. If we go into effects, we're just going to paste all of those effects in. This shouldn't take too long. While we're waiting for that, let's go over what I know is a problem. So currently, we're actually going to... Last time, we're gonna keep up the style of explaining how the game works with Microsoft Paint. So when we create a block, we create it pretty simply. We have our cube. Oh yes, look at these artistic skills we've got here. And when we've got our cube, we basically say slap the texture we're using, which if it's the blue and black, it'll just slap it on each side. And it'll basically make a block. Well, the problem is for grass, we need the top to be grass, but we need the sides to be dirt. Which means we have to program a special case for this. I know this is actually the worst picture you will ever see in your life. But that's pretty much the problem we're running into here. We have to program it to be able to handle multiple textures on a single block. And that's probably going to take a lot of trial and error on my part. So, go. And here we go. Yes. Fast hard drives, be fast. Also, keep an eye on my CPU temperature. Not bad. Okay. And now we can open paint.net. Why do I use paint.net for this, you may ask? There is... Oh, no, that's going to open in something. Okay, we're just going to do the slightly less pretty system of just going into the game assets, going into our resources, textures, tiles, and opening it with... Where's open with? Open with paint.net. So, if I remember correctly, the textures in this are 32 by 32, which means we have to create something that doesn't look absolutely terrible. Here we are. Do we have all of our effects? Oh, because it's lagging, yes. So many effects. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to put the blocks here, here, and here. This is obviously the test block texture here. But grass is actually going to have multiple textures, so we're going to deal with that in a moment. But we're just going to do File, New, 32 by 32, and we are going to make stone. So, how do I do art? Now, I am not an artist. How do we do this? We're going to, basically, I'm not an artist in any form. I'm probably the furthest you could get from an artist. I'm a programmer. I kind of just hope things work. If they work, it doesn't matter how good they look to me. But what we're going to do is we're kind of just going to layer a bit of gray here. And we're going to add some darker areas. And you guys will see what I'm going to do in a second to make this like a slightly fancy. And we're going to see if this works out well. The resolution may not be high enough for this, but if we go to effects, we go to not noise, distort, is it? Then we do crystallize. Wow, that actually doesn't look bad. Look at that. That doesn't look absolutely horrible. Wow. Okay, so that actually did work. I'd like some clapping right here because that was not expected to look good. Now, a problem you run into when you're using tiles like this is if we put one down and then we put another one next to it, usually they won't wrap together very nice. Actually, it's actually not terrible, but you can definitely see a line going through. Not this side to this side, surprisingly. That actually looks fine. But top to bottom, you can definitely tell something's up, and there's obvious patterns repeating, which is a no-no when you're making these types of textures. You want them to repeat without it being noticeable. So we're going to go back to our texture, and we have a little effect here for this. If I can find it, it's somewhere. Edge Master, was it? Oh no, that's not what we want. Okay, so there is a tool we have in here to deal with this problem. It's somewhere in here. Seamless Helper. And look, you may not have seen it do anything. Oh. So this looks bad, and I will admit this looks pretty bad. But if we run it through the crystallize one more time with it after being seamlessly done, we may get the result we want. Okay, so let's see if this did it. Will this look okay? And if we plop this down, plop it down again, that connects. That connects. And look at that! It actually doesn't look bad. So, that is how we make a proper texture for a tile-based game. It doesn't look horrible. There is a little bit of a visible pattern there, but it isn't absolutely visible, so we're going to kind of just go with this, and we're gonna say, yeah, that looks good enough, and we're going to keep this here because this is the tile we're going to be using. This is what we're going to be using in order to display stone. There's our texture. So if we look in our blocks in our game, we've got block test, we have that block stone, which has position 1. This should actually be position 0. And then we have block grass, which is at 2. So we're going to just make the top of grass because, like I said, we're going to run into that problem. So once again, because I am not even close to an artist, we're kind of just going to YOLO this a little bit. Let's just plop down a little bit of a lighter green, completely alpha, and then we're going to get a darker green and go over it again with a little bit of transparency so that it kind of blends, you know? Yeah, look at that. That is some high quality grass there. And let's just make it a nice mix here. Yep, that is absolutely beautiful. If we crystallize this, it's going to give us our result here. Now we just have to go to effects. And if we go down to Seamless Helper, again, oh, that actually doesn't look bad after being seamlessly done. Now if we go back here, paste this, is it actually seamless is the question. It looks like it. And look at that. That actually looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but it isn't actually terrible. So we're going to go with that. And we're just going to make sure that this is working. We're going to save this. We're going to go back to our game because one problem that I'm thinking is we actually had something set incorrectly before, but it was working properly, which is a sign of a lower problem in the game. Okay, so here's an issue. We're going to fix this in the future, but it is a problem that needs to be dealt with because of the way the textures are done. Oh, this is actually working. This shouldn't be working right now, but I guess the green box is working. If we look like this, we can see a tint of green, and you may be wondering why you can see that tint of green. That's because there's a very small amount of texture bleeding. We can fix that in the future. It's mostly caused by MIP mapping. It's mixing the entire texture. So if we go to our tiles here and go to... Okay, we have no filtering on, but where is our MIP mapping? And generate MIP maps. Off, apply, and it should fix our problem there. It shouldn't look green anymore. Games like Minecraft use a special system to stop... Yeah, it still looks green. That is going to be caused by a few things that we can't handle at the moment. I'm going to make it procedurally create the texture atlas, which will fix that problem. Actually, that appears to have slightly helped changing its repeat mode. We're just going to ignore that problem for the moment. It's going to be a lot of work. Yeah, this is Windows. I'm going to ignore the Minecraft clone comments because I'm not actually going to go too far into what the plans are for this game because I'm not going to bother explaining it until I have it to a point where it's like I'm actually working on those parts of the game. This is called Rocket Dock. It's just a dock. It's still Windows, as you can see from the, well, GUI, but yeah, it's called Rocket Dock if you're interested. Okay, so if we go back, that was kind of working. Now, I am slightly annoyed by the fact that it's texture bleeding, but that's just a way that graphics cards work. They use something called texels instead of pixels, which causes them to bleed over a little bit. There's a few ways we can fix that, which one of them is actually... I'm debating whether or not it's worth doing right now. It's probably not. Okay, so we're going to go, and now we're going to make a way to break and place blocks, because that is pretty important for what we're doing next. So we're going to go to our chunk script, and let's go through our code a little bit. Where should we put this? It doesn't really matter where you put it. I just like to keep things kind of neat. So we're going to put public void break block. Technically, I should just call it set block and let you set it to air. That gets rid of a bit of redundancy there. And then it type, it X, it Y, it Z. So you can set the ID of the block to set it to, and the position of the block. So, how are we actually going to do this? Well, this is kind of not going to be used yet, because what we're going to be using is called a raycast, which, back to MS Paint to explain what that is. So in games, you may wonder, when you click on something, how does it know that you're clicking on it? And that's actually a really complicated question in itself. But what your computer does is, if we have, let's say we've got our player here. I know, I am an artist. We'll call him Bob. Bob has a wall here that needs to detect him. So what your computer will do is it will actually send out a line And when the line hits the object, it'll make a note of where it hit. This is called array, and the process of using it is called array casting, because you're casting out array. This all happens pretty much instantly, but it's pretty, it sounds simple, but it's used for a lot of stuff. Like when computers do lighting, they send hundreds of rays out, and it basically says, oh, did light hit this? And then if it didn't, it sets it to shadow. So rays are used for all sorts of things. Now, ignoring that, because we're just gonna return, this is void. Why is it complaining? Duplicate. Oh, because this is here. Okay, so we're gonna do public void set block, and then this one's going to take raycast hit, and it's also it's going to take type and then raycast hit. Doesn't matter the order, I just try to keep it consistent. So what this is going to do is this is going to convert the raycast to the position, and then it's going to call this. Now we actually need a third script for this. Not script. We have two methods, but we need a script for the player. So we're going to go to our player folder here. So we're going to create a script here, and we're going to call it, let's be really creative here and just call it modify terrain, because you're modifying the terrain. Good enough. And we're going to open it if my computer will do so. Here we go. So here's our load chunk script. We're going to ignore, oh, we have our old one open and our new one open. Let's close a few of these extra things we don't need at the moment. This is all stuff I was working on alone. Here we go. So, we are going to have... Okay. I'm thinking about this for a moment. How do we do this the most efficient way possible? Because you can do things in programming, but you want to leave behind as little trash and unused stuff, and use as little processor power as possible, because otherwise your game is a laggy mess. And believe it or not, a lot of games on the market, even popular games, are laggy messes. You don't want that. You don't want, like, Ark Survival Evolved, where no one can run your game because it's just so poorly optimized. It's better to just get the optimization done before it gets too big. Although it is a popular saying that premature optimization is basically the worst thing you can do. Okay, so we're gonna do public raycast hit. And we're gonna do public vector 3 forward. I don't think we have to do anything in start. We're going to get rid of this because it's kind of self-explanatory. Now we're gonna do if input dot get key down key code dot mouse 0, which is the left mouse button. So if someone clicks the left mouse button, if physics dot raycast. So you may be asking, how does this work? This is basically saying if it hits something when it raycasts, physics.raycast, and now we have to give it a few things. We have to say... Actually, just to make sure I'm doing this correctly, because there's a lot of different ways you can overload this, we're just going to go to Unity, Raycast. Unity actually has a very, very large scripting API, and there's a lot of things you can do with them. This is what I'm going for here, so we're just going to use that as a reference. And we're going to do transform, which is the transform basically holding the position, rotation, and stuff of the object that the script is connected to. which in this case is a player. So we're saying send out a raycast from the position of the player. We're probably going to want this to be on the camera so that it goes out from their head. And then we're going to say form dot forward. We don't need this. This isn't necessary. Transform dot forward. And we don't need a layer mask. We do, however, need a distance. And is it going to let me do that without complaining? Can we get a raycast? Okay, no, we have to go out hit if we want to use this. And then we do... So basically what this does is when it does out hit, it sets hit to whatever comes out. And now we're going to go if hit dot no, this is going to be frustrating. Hit dot transform dot game object dot get component chunk spelling dot set block, and we're going to send the one with the raycast. Oh, no. That's not what we want to do. We want to do if hit dot transform dot game object dot tag equals chunk, because if the object isn't a chunk, we can't look for the chunk script in it or it will crash the game. What do we have a problem here with? What? Oh, shoot. Double equals. And let's just make sure that we are actually tagging our chunks as chunk. No, we aren't. Add a tag. Chunk. We just have to tag our chunk as chunk. And bam. So if it's a chunk, simple enough. When this game is ready, it's going to be a free download. So it's actually going to be in the description for free once it's like playable. I'm not doing that right now because it's just unnecessary. It's not playable, so... Okay, so going back... If it's a chunk, then what we do is we do... I'm just going to optimize this a little bit so that we don't have to do things multiple times. Set a variable to that. Hit object equals that. If hit object dot tag is chunk, then hit object dot get component chunk dot set block, and we're gonna do 0 for air, and then we're gonna send it hit, and that should do it. That will do exactly what we want it to do. We're just going to go to the player here, wherever the player is. The player is somewhere. We're going to go to the camera part of it and put it on there. So we're going to go to player, modify terrain, just plop it on there, and there we go. That's all good. So that should work, I think. I'm at least 92% sure that'll work. I do see what's happening in the chat. I'm just not sure I want to jump in and actually like bother with it. It's so much effort to throw people in timeout and stuff. But it's fine. 1 second, I'm calling the moderators. Oh, shoot. I'll just get my moderators over, it's fine. Just delete chat. That is not a solution. A better solution is to get the moderators in and just absolutely destroy everyone in the chat who can't follow rules. It's fine though, because it's only a few people. I can handle it. Okay, so we actually did succeed in that. So this is all going to work perfectly fine. Now we're going to jump over to Chunk, and we're going to go oh yeah, okay, so the moderators are here. We're gonna go okay, this is going to get really complicated really fast. Int y, int x, int y, int z. So here's our next problem. Back to MS Paint to explain the problem before we get around it. So let's say Steve, yes, I'm going to use Minecraft references here because it's going to be called a Minecraft clone either way. Steve here decides to break this block. So what we have is a raycast hits. The raycast hits here, and you'd be able to say, well, the raycast hit that block, right? Well, it's not that simple because there's an air block right here. It's just you can't see it. And so this is actually the exact same spot. It's touching both blocks. And you have to say, well, is it in this block or is it in this block? To do that, we have it go a little bit further in the direction opposite of where we were hitting so that we can be absolutely sure that it's inside of this block. Yeah. That's how you do it. And we do bool adjacent so that we can change whether we're building or destroying, and we're just going to do false. We're going for the block we're hitting, not the one next to it. Okay, so to do this, we're going to see if we have old code, because that would speed things up a bit. So if we go into my old projects, I do have voxel space old. Please have what I need. This would be actually very convenient at the moment. Yeah, slight cheating here using old code that I made, but it could save a lot of time. Is our get block code in here, though? No, which means it must be in the planet. Yeah, voxel space is another project of mine. Here we go. This is convenient. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are just going to grab this, because this is a lot of math I don't want to mess around with again. It just takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of mistakes that are made. So by using old code, we can basically speed up our process here a bit. Okay, move within block. That's an old thing we have here. And how did we do it before? Oh, this is way overcomplicated in so many ways. Okay, never mind. We are actually going to just kind of keep it here. Flow X equals move within block. And we're just going to do hit dot position, hit dot point dot. Why does this have to be overcomplicated? Dot X, hit dot normal dot X, and adjacent. That moves it into the block like it needs to. We need to do this for all 3 points. Slightly overcomplicated, but once this is done, it will actually be slightly more like a game. Okay, so at this point, it moves it inside of a block. Good. So now I'm thinking about how the game works, because there's 2 ways that this can work. I'm not sure if we're going 0.5 based or... Shoot. I'm actually not 100% sure here. Math f dot round. Oh, that is very inconvenient. So yeah, for now, we're going to do this. This may or may not work how I want it to. This may actually need a little bit of tweaking later, because depending on how you do this, it can be slightly buggy. So these names are already used, so ZI, YI, ZI for ints. And then we can do set block, type, X, I, YI, ZI. Bam, and now the actual code for set block. We can do this now. So terrain, X, Y, Z, dot, ID equals type, and then, oh no, that's something I need to add too. So, public void update chunk to make sure that it refreshes everything after it's edited, and that just has to render terrain. Technically, that's all it needs to do at the moment. It's going to need to do a whole lot more than that in the future, but we're just going to keep this slightly simple at the moment. Where render terrain, yeah, that's what I thought it was called. Whoops. And that should work. Kind of. So this should slightly work. I can't be 100% sure that it's going to work in the first shot. I may have made a small mistake somewhere. Where's the other set block? Update chunk. So now what it does is sets the block and it updates the chunk so that you can see the difference and blah 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 blah. Let's actually just see if it works. Okay, in game. So currently nothing is happening, which is fine. Now what I want is an error. Yes, an error. That is what we want. I already know what the problem is. And that's that we are not normalizing this at all. Which is a problem for us. xi equals xi minus chunk x. Oh. Times 16. Let's see if that works. That may be our problem. Because that's in world space and we need to convert it to chunk space. So to do that, we just subtract where the chunk is. Okay, let's see if that fixed the problem. Okay, here's our next error. The same one. And this is the one that I expected to get here. So, to debug, very simple. We're just going to do logger. Oh, geez, that was not pretty. Logger.log to console. Log mode dot, we'll just do full, no, game. Position plus x plus gap plus y plus gap plus z, and then log type dot, and we're just going to put this at critical because it's important. So this is going to basically tell us what it's trying to do, so that we can understand where our math is wrong. It seems like the normal YouTube army is here now, which is to be expected. But to my subs, don't forget to like the stream. I haven't asked yet, but it does really help more things like this in the future. I know a little bit of a risky thing having a video named something so general that's going to be found on the normal part of YouTube. But if you do want to support the stream, just make sure to like. I'm not going to bother too much with worrying about the dislikes because, like I said, I think we've reached mainstream YouTube, so I'm not going to freak out here. Okay, so going back to our problem here, what are we getting? We're getting, this should only go up to 15. These are problems. These are legitimate problems, which we are having. Why is this still running? Okay, so when I click here, there isn't a problem. Oh, the problem is only on 0 and 16, which is not right at all. So that means we have to look for another problem. The problem is not what I thought it was. Let's see if we can hit 100 likes. Let's see if we can do that. I think we are more than capable. Let's see if we can do it. Pop that back on. And so... So we are having trouble. This is to be expected considering it's, well, a game. It's pretty complicated. And this right here is kind of a mess. I should really clean up all of this. We're moving this up here because there's no reason for it not to be next to its brother. There we go. Stop. And we're gonna put another gap there. Okay, so the problem is within here and within, not here. It's definitely within here. The only way for me to fix this quickly on stream is going to be referencing my old code, because I had it perfect before, so... Now, something we can also look at is the hit point is... So let's quickly do the same thing here. But here, I want to see where the point is originally. What the original number is before it starts freaking out. Okay, so let's see. Before it freaks out, the original number is... -2. Yes, so it is in world space. So I wasn't wrong. And then after it converts out of world space, it's 1316.6. Which should be correct considering this is all on level 16 here. Oh god, that looks absolutely terrible with the texture blending. Ugh. So it appears that we just have to subtract 1. That seems like an overly simplified solution. But we're going to try it. Because I think that may actually be our solution here. If subtracting 1 actually fixes the problem. Because it seems that we're just going 1 over what we want to be. Of course, I also chose every single time for it to be an edge case too, which makes things slightly more complicated. Okay, now just nothing's happened. Oh! Okay, something's happening. It's just not deleting the blocks where we want it to. So that somewhat works. So subtracting 1 is not the way we want to go about this because it is actually removing the block in the wrong position. But hey, that kind of works somewhat. And that is good enough for me. Somewhat working is a good thing. Okay, so this is not our solution. Our solution is going to be, once again, when I somewhere in my old code, because I've done this all before. So we're gonna reopen my old code and figure out how I did this before. So obviously I used this, which does the fancy normal math. And I may just have to throw this down, because this returns the position. Even though I don't like the naming or anything on it, it does work. So we're gonna steal my old code, because it's probably the best way to go about this. We're gonna paste it in. It's going to have a lot of errors to start. We're going to have our problem here. It's gotta be called chunk. Actually, this is actually this chunk. Bool adjacent. We're not going to have that be. I guess that can be optional. Okay, so this is our problem. It's going to be chunk underscore X. So chunk underscore Y. Chunk underscore Z. Oh boy, this is actually a mess. To convert to world space, the problem is before I had it in the world, this time I have it in the chunks, which make this slightly more complicated than I want it to be at the moment. By making it more complicated... Oh, shoot. That's kind of exactly what I did here. Move into the block. Yep, that's what I did. And then the rounding and stuff was done beforehand for this. So let's look at another culprit, which may be in the planet, which is here. What do I do here? I get the block position first, then I convert it to... But why did I do that? These are all very good questions. Okay. What are we actually getting when we do this? Maybe it's going in the wrong direction. Well, I did write false, didn't I? Yeah, I said false. So that shouldn't be going in the wrong direction. Things are much more complicated than they should be. So it appears that most of the things here are actually pretty accurate and normal. We've got 8, 9, 12... 0 is fine. We should be able to go up to 0. One of the problems is we actually are having trouble hitting things close to us. Whether this is because of the screen in front of the player, or because the camera is too low. That may be a problem. This stream chat is actually beautiful. So, just for the reasons of making this less eye-murdering, I'm going to modify the code to create a chunk to turn it into grass. Because my eyes are actually starting to die. Oh, geez, where is... It's under chunk. Terrain generator, and we're just going to make this do... Oh, shoot, that's not right at all. It should currently be doing stone, but it's not. Okay, that makes things slightly more complicated. Let's figure out what's wrong there. Blocks, and block stone, ID 2. Huh. Well, I guess 1 is actually 1 here. It should start at 0, but I'm not gonna, well, bother figuring out why that's not working, considering that entire system's going to be reprogrammed anyways. That is still not right. Oh, I may know the problem here. If we go over to where it creates... Oh my. Okay. This is a worse problem than I originally thought. Okay, by going a bit further down and going into this... Block dot texture position. This is... This is an interesting problem we have here. Something is wrong with the math. And I don't think this is wrong. Tile position equals the block's tile position. If we go over back to blocks, the tile positions are all set here, or the texture positions. But why are they all the same? That is the question that should be asked. Why are they all the same? Okay, 2 1 1 0 0 0. And the air doesn't get anything at all. Okay, now I'm genuinely thinking, because we actually do have a problem here, which could stretch all the way back up to here. Block equals the terrain at that position. Build it with that. Block equals the terrain at that position. Build the faces for it. So that's all actually correct. This is making me question a few things. What happens if I just give this grass? Now this shouldn't change anything if there's actually a problem like I think. There is the possibility that the yeah. Well, this is going to be a fun fix. Let's look at one problem, which could be the tiles aren't actually incorrectly, but it appears from this that we can see the other two down there. So this gives us a slight issue, like a large issue. A questionable issue. Okay, so now I have to switch to basically debugging because we have to fix this problem. Debugging is fun. So, naturally, because we're debugging, we're going to turn off debugging mode. Just because those lines are getting really annoying. There shouldn't be any lines now. Technically. Hopefully that's at least working. Yes, now there are no lines, which makes things slightly easier on the eyes. Here we have our terrain loading. That's all very good and correct. We've got our chunks. Their shaders do have the correct texture in them. That's one thing down to check. We can also mess with this a bit by doing this. We're not going to do that, though. Okay. I'm just taking a deep breath because this is not going to be fun to fix. Also, this is freaking my eyes out. Optical illusion. Especially with that great FPS because I have the profiler on. Let's shut that off. There's no reason to have that on at the moment. Okay, yes, another performance should be much better. Yep, not laggy. Okay, so we have to find the problem. There's 3 places the problem could be, which all would kind of suck, but, you know, we'll find it. So if we go to blocks, here is where the IDs go. Also, this should this should actually have all of these in it. Or maybe not at the beginning, but at the end, we'll just put... It is singular. And I think I'm allowed to do this. Yes, I am. Convenience. Blanc air. Block. What order are we going in here? Block air. Block test. Actually, block air shouldn't be in the... No, it has an ID, so it should. Block air. Block test. Block stone. Block grass. That's just so that we can look them up. Okay, we're only 11 likes away from 100, guys. Let's see if we can reach that, and let's continue looking for a problem here. Scrolling up, we're going to look at everything. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it looks like they're counting up. That's what we want. Now, at the same time, we need 0. 1 is 0 here because that makes sense. Then 1, then 2. That's correct. That is exactly as it should be. Let's make sure that the terrain generator is working properly. It sets it to blockgrass.id, which is correct. And that means that we have to jump over to the mesh generator because this is where our problem is. Oh, isn't that fun? So instead of doing this, we're going to do equals blocks dot block list, because this adds a little bit of redundancy, but it makes it less likely to mess up. And then dot, that should be exactly the same, but there's a chance that it isn't. Yes, there we go. There's our problem, and now it's gone. Aha! Look at that beautiful grass in every direction. And that actually doesn't look absolutely terrible. What would make it look slightly more realistic is if it wasn't so shiny, which we can fix pretty easily. Just whoop. Oh, okay, not the albedo. We need to go to metallic and not turn that up. We need to turn down smoothness a little bit. Wow, look at that. It works. Which basically means that, well, what we did is successful. Good for us. Okay, so now it looks like grass. That's good. Somewhat good. I'm also just going to move the sub count out because I keep covering it with stuff anyways. Storm, shut up. Oh no! Oh, that is actually triggering. That is fine. It's going to do that sometimes. I'm working on a beta version of Unity anyways. Thankfully, I save often. Okay, the only thing that we lost there is that I don't think the thing's going to be on here anymore, which it isn't. Just plop that back on. Modified terrain is on there again. What do you mean prefab connection? Yeah, go ahead. I don't care. And there we go. Just save that so that doesn't happen again. So now, our problem is going to be elsewhere. We're also going to do this so that... else, if it's less than -1, it makes it stone so that we can actually tell the difference between stone and grass. And do a little bit of testing. So when we dig, we will be able to tell that we're actually digging, which is good. Okay, so we're gonna go back to modified terrain and check actually everything. So set block, we're setting it to air. We did actually break it before, so that means this is all working properly. Which means the problem code is in here, the annoying part. So, we're actually going to kind of cheat here, get rid of this, and see if this works alone. Oh, shush. What are you complaining about? Okay, we're just going to do this. It's going to not really... I don't know why I didn't copy all of that. That was actually dumb. So we're going to see if this works at all. And if it does, that means that I need to recode the complicated part, which is going to be annoying. As expected, that isn't working at all now. Are we actually even calling anything when we're doing that? What? Yeah, that's a Unity error there. The modified terrain script is on there, so I'm going to trust that it's working properly. Okay, so... Oh, charm. I will be right back in 10 seconds. Okay, so we are back. There we go. We're all ready to continue. And we still have no clue what the problem is. Which that is actually annoying. But we do have a hint of what the problem is. Because guess what? This isn't getting called. And I know why that is. Because, guess what didn't save? I just remembered. When Unity crashed, this lost its tag. Which means that since it wasn't tagged chunk, it wasn't doing anything. Now it is going to be tagged chunk. Now it's going to actually start doing something. Even if unsuccessfully. Yeah. Now you're gonna tell me that everything's broken. You know what? That's better than giving me no feedback. Now we're going to do this. And thank you guys for the 100 likes. I do appreciate it. Actually, can we, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, this should be working fine. The problem is elsewhere. So the first problem we should look at is where is the world... Oh, shoot. That could actually mess everything up. Just the world not being in the position 0, 0, 0. Not sure why I never checked that before. Now, these are set to 16, which is not what we want. We want it to be 15, but we tried to just, oh, whoops. We tried just decreasing it by 1 before, and that didn't solve the problem. There's the shadow. That worried me for a second. So. I'm questioning why this isn't working. Trying to think about all the ways it couldn't be working. Instead, I'm just going to do this to check that my chunk deletion code is working properly very quickly while I'm thinking, which it appears to be. Okay, so we're having a very interesting problem that I do not know the solution to at the moment. Unity, I swear, if you crash again, I will not be happy with you. Oh, I don't like you. It really does not like me shutting it off while in scene view. Okay, so while that's going, let's actually do out the math. I do this occasionally when I'm having problems. I'm actually going to get a pad of paper. And let's write this out. Okay, paper and pencil in hand. So, let's say that we have to give it numbers. So let's say that we hit points. Well, in our case, it's going to be 5, 10, 16 will be our numbers. So, move wooden block. What does this do? This is going to give us... Okay, so this may seem a little bit complicated, but basically what it does is if it's adjacent, it adds in the direction, well, the opposite direction from you hit, and otherwise it subtracts from the opposite direction from where you hit. So what that's going to give us is 4.5, 9.5. Well, that's actually not true. Okay, we're just going to assume that is true, just to make it simpler. So we get 4.5, 9.5, 15.5. There we go. And then we round it, so let's just say it... Wait, this should actually add 5-1 so that it doesn't get confused. Halfway between it, wouldn't be able to round. Okay, so now that that's fixed, that would round to 4, 9, 15, which is what we want it to. Oh, geez, this is actually going to get on my nerves. We have to do this again because it crashed. Tis okay. It's all a part of progress. Make sure to save. Now we're gonna click around a bit to get all the numbers. It's going to keep giving us these numbers that all have 16, but why is it 16? It shouldn't be 16. It should not be 16. I'm not telling it adjacent true, am I? I swear I said false. Yeah. False. Okay. Oh. You know, that may actually be a problem. So every block is actually offset by 0.5. So I wonder if I actually just subtract 0.5 from each number. I'm not sure if this will change anything, but it would make a tiny bit of sense, so we're going to go with it. I don't know why it would always round up. Once again, we're working with edge cases here, like the edge of a chunk, every time. Oh, I swear, Unity, if you crash again, I will be very unhappy with you. Okay, there we go. And let's move this over here and see if this works. Okay, so we do have the deletion of blocks. Not where we want to be deleting blocks. Meh. We don't seem to have stone underneath like we wanted to either. But that's a small amount of success. So, we have the edges of chunks, which really don't like each other because I haven't set up any code for that yet. So it would appear that it's not working. That wasn't actually a solution to the problem. It was a solution to one of the symptoms of the problem. Oh, you were actually going to crash again. I am pushing Unity way too hard right now. The editor does not want to deal with my extra complex game. Okay, so what did we get done so far? We fixed the textures, and we added a little bit code to some areas. But, you know, it's been an hour and the chat is devolving into something that honestly scares me. So I think for now we're going to end it here. I'm going to fix a few things on my own, and I will see you all next time. Also, I'm going to install the next version of Unity because these crashes are getting a little bit ridiculous. So yeah, thank you all for watching. If you're interested in interested in this series, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want more. Later in the future, there will be a free download for the game, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.